Up next, we had a backstage segment with Roman Reigns, and this, I think, is the perfect segment to really highlight just how not ready Roman Reigns is, because as badass and charismatic as he comes off as, he really isn't a great talker at all.
That's why they always try and keep his promos to be very succinct in this and that, because I think they realize that if they would try and really give him something to say, he may not do the best job of it. And really, all I remember him saying is that, he really doesn't care what Randy Orton has in store for him. It doesn't matter, because, he's just going to run right through him, was pretty much what I got from this promo.
Yeah. The whole, he's got the venom and I've got the antidote thing, just so corny. And not only corny, but inaccurate. You give the antidote to the person that got bit by the venom, so what is he going to do? Superman punch himself in the face?
Oh, man. Yeah, it's, Roman does need work. I fear if he'll be ready by WrestleMania time, because, guys, that's not as far along as you might think. I mean,
Dude,
yeah, we're in September right now, but
it's in a month, it'll be the halfway point.
yeah, and that's the thing. And see, guys, normally I get it, because even then it at least feels like it's a ways away. But with wrestling, I notice that time has a way of going by incredibly fast. Like, we're already on the cusp of having another Royal Rumble, and I feel like we just got done discussing Batista winning this past one. It's ridiculous how that works. So I hope that Roman can get ready in time. But yeah, this is a pretty promo. I mean, you could tell, because I could only recall like a little piece of it. You remembered more than I did, so I think that tells you everything you need to know. And you weren't impressed, so hopefully Roman can work it out. I want to believe in Roman Reigns, but right now I think he's badass to watch, and I love watching him in the ring when he hits second gear. But he does need a lot of work.
Yeah, he does. Before we move on, this is incredibly relevant right now. WWE.com has a poll up asking which NXT superstar you're most excited to see return to Raw. And it's between Adrian Neville, Tyler Breeze, and Sami Zayn, because obviously Tyson Kidd isn't really an NXT superstar. He's just down there for the shits and gigs of it. There have been 17,000 votes on this thing, John.
Wow, who's coming out in the lead of that poll?
Sami Zayn at 47%, but then Adrian Neville's at 45%. Tyler Breeze is only at 8% because he was the heel and he didn't really do anything exciting. But yeah, Zayn, despite having almost no actual pops or high spots or anything that could get the crowd going, is in the lead of this poll.
Wow. You know what? And that's got to be, again, the fanfare he carries with him.
Yep.
Because to me, the only memorable spot Zayn had in that match was the outside dive.
Well, and then he also had the one arm drag thing that he does, where he like spins around the guy and kind of weaves in and out of his arms, and then finally does like the arm drag at the end.
Right.
Because that's a cool spot. That'll get your attention. But yeah, I think that the suicide dive is really the only real high spot that he had. And yeah. 47% Zayn, 45% Neville, 8% Breeze.
There you go. Beautiful.
And from what I understand, Zayn and Neville have really been neck and neck. Like, it's probably unfair to say Sami Zayn's winning, because I guess they've basically, like, at one point I think they were both at 45%, and it's just like kind of back and forth. And I would say they're tied, because it's a 2% margin is really nothing when there are that few votes. There are only 17,000 votes. So
right.
2% of 17,000 is only like 3,000. Or not even, no, 300. It's only like 300. That's not that big of a deal.
No.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we got to talk about that, because up next was our main event of the evening, Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah. I'd honestly say, for me personally, I felt like their SummerSlam match was better than this bout. They had some good back and forth moments. One spot that really stuck out to me, Orton does this power slam to Roman Reigns off the top rope. I thought that was a pretty nice looking spot. But for me personally, Ashton, things really didn't pick up until the post match. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I want to know what you thought of this match, because I just thought it was pretty average for me.
I mean, yeah, there wasn't really anything exceptional, so if you want to get in right into the post-match, that's fine.
All right, then fine, yeah, because I didn't want to undercut you there if you had anything to say. But yeah, the post-match we see that, Roman Reigns, he does hit the Superman punch, and then Orton, he's recovering, and he's like motioning for somebody to come out, and we see that it's Seth Rollins and Kane, and, they're trying to get involved because they have some kind of plan for Roman Reigns. But Roman is able to take care of them, but all the while he's taking care of them, the steel cage is lowering, and, Seth tries to get back in, but he only manages to get a steel chair inside, and, Orton is locked in with Reigns. They go at it a little bit more. Roman Reigns hits the spear on Orton, so he's looking dominant. He goes to take the chair. I think he does successfully hit Kane with it, so he keeps him at bay. But then what finally stops Roman Reigns was a crossbody that Seth Rollins does off the top of the cage. And that got a big pop from the crowd. And then, once Roman Reigns was...
I genuinely appreciated that he did that. And the main reason that I say that is because I was already getting to the point that I was like, oh my God, is Roman Reigns seriously going to take all three guys? And I was complaining. You were on the same call as me. We were watching it together. I was even saying, of course, now all of a sudden they have a magical door that's locked and the Authority can't get into the cage. And then I was like, and even if they didn't want to use the door, apparently now the Authority is allergic to gravity and they can't just climb over the cage. And then next thing you know, Rollins comes off the top, Kane goes through the door, and I was just like, okay, what took you so long? But at least, better late than never.
Exactly, because you know what? I think for me, had they not gone that logical route, seeing as how they were the ones to set the trap, so you should have been ready for any and all scenarios, this would have been a heat of the night for me. And I'm assuming with the way you were talking about it, it may have been one for you as well. So, at least they averted it, and that's the good news. And then they really put the boots to Roman Reigns here. Kane in particular, he does nail a choke slam. Orton's just stomping all over him, nailing chair shot after chair shot, saying, it's just not your day, Roman, and, beating him down that way. But then the real highlight of this beatdown, Orton was saying he was going to do this, and that. Well, I'm thinking, okay, well, the logical conclusion is maybe RKO on the chair, or hell, maybe we'll even see the return of the punt. But who steals the show? Seth Rollins. Because he does a curb stomp to freaking Roman Reigns right on the chair.
Yeah.
And, he picks Roman Reigns up slowly, says, I made you, Roman. I made you everything that you are. And then he hits it, and he's like getting all into it, and then the heels, kind of pose with each other inside the cage to end it. So to me, I guess Orton came through on his promise, but really it was Seth Rollins who was the assailant in the whole thing. I mean, he was the one, first of all, who laid the groundwork with the crossbody to begin with, and then he nails the death blow with the curb stomp on the chair. Which I'm only bringing all this up because earlier in the night, when Orton had cut the promo about doing something to Roman Reigns that would make it what Seth and Kane did to Dean look like Sunday school, James said to me that he felt like this is going to be the night that Orton was excommunicated. He was booted out of the Authority.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm almost wondering if maybe, even if WWE doesn't want us to take it that way, if these are the seeds being planted of Seth Rollins saying, Orton, you will always talk this big game, but I always back it up, and that's the difference between the two of us. You're full of hot air, and I just drive everybody's air just straight out. And, that's the kind of angle they go with. And it'll be interesting to see if they do, because I do think one-on-one matches between Orton and Seth Rollins could be insanely good. I would have high hopes for that match, or that series of matches, if they would go there. But for now, they stand united, which is nice to see a heel faction that's always had its bickering at one point or another to actually be unified on something. Roman Reigns is laid out. And as WWE would say on their website, not a good day for the Roman Empire.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. We'll just have to kind of chill out, and the whole Reigns thing, I hope that tonight was a sign that the WWE realizes just how overpowered he's been booked.
I hope so, too. Because I'm telling you, and I don't say this out of favoritism, I say it because of everything I've been seeing. If we were to take all three guys from the Shield and say which one looks most ready for a big WrestleMania push,
Dean Ambrose.
Dean Ambrose.
By far.
Dean Ambrose. By
Not
far.
even close. Give me Ambrose Lesnar today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just been booked so correctly because he's a babyface that actually adheres to the rules of being a babyface. See, that's the problem. You were talking earlier about how, I guess, if Roman Reigns has anything going for him, it's that he's charismatic and he's this badass. I think it's getting to a point, Ashton, where maybe it's because it's been overdone, or maybe just because it just comes with the territory of being done at all. But I'm feeling like even that's working against Roman Reigns. Because when you're a badass and you can take care of your own business, yeah, people may find that to be cool, but they may also feel excluded. They may almost feel like, you've got this on your own. Why am I even here? Why am I even chanting for the rise of the Roman Empire if I don't even get a seat in it? And that's the problem with Dean Ambrose and his struggle. I feel like Dean Ambrose at the same time is badass because, especially the first time he looked at all those guys, Orton, Kane, and Rollins, and said, "Is that all you got?" That was a great moment for him. But he's never been so BA to the point of where he's kind of implying, "Don't worry, guys, I've got this. Just sit on your hands." And that's where I feel like Roman Reigns is. I feel like he's almost too BA, if that's even possible. Because it becomes an exclusionary
He's immortal.
thing.
It's like he's freaking immortal. It's like there's nothing cool about somebody standing up for what they believe in when you know that they can't be hurt.
I mean, that's why I feel like we as a culture, and not to turn this into a whole nother commentary, I want to make it a quick talking point, but we as a culture almost seem to have this type of admiration or awe for martyrdom and martyrs. And, Dean Ambrose to me, especially when he took the blow with the cinder blocks, that was when he became a martyr because he was out for vengeance. He lived by the code of vengeance and he represented it. With Roman Reigns, though, what are you representing? When you come out to that ring and you nail your Superman punches and you nail your spears, what are you about? What is your message? What do you want to portray to the people? Because I feel like whatever message Roman may think he's portraying, he's being counter-effective with it, with his actions, with being able to take care of all of this himself. Yeah. They need to start making him more vulnerable. That's an imperative, especially on WrestleMania season, because you're the babyface. I mean, hell, if we want to go back to a really dominant babyface road to WrestleMania, I would look at Batista in 2005. But the thing was, I could almost forgive it because of the story. Batista was under the tutelage of a guy like Triple H who was just browbeating him and really being awful at every turn. So, of course, when they're going to rise up, it's going to seem like they're going to rise up with all the rage and the fury in the world just to make their point. But even as that feud progressed, I feel like even Batista showed more weakness and was able to be vulnerable. With Roman Reigns, it's like there's no stopping the train now that it's on the tracks, and that's terrifying.
But tonight the train was at least speed bumped.
Yeah, at least. But hopefully it would mean something more in the grand scheme of things. It almost makes me like I was excited about the prospect of Roman Reigns winning this year's Royal Rumble after his dominant performance last year. Now I'd almost don't want him to win it, and I do feel like he's going to. I would love for a Dean Ambrose instead to win it because it seems more apropos for a guy like him, or hell, a returning Daniel Bryan potentially to do it, than a guy like Roman Reigns. You don't need the Rumble, dude. As far as I'm concerned, you could be put in an elimination chamber for the championship and you would be the favorite. He'd just spear everybody through their glass pods and just pick them apart like that. So I don't know what the booking of Roman Reigns holds, how they're going to get him to whatever spot he's going to be on at the road to WrestleMania, because things can change on a dime, and him in the main event spot is purely speculation, but it's looking like speculation with a lot of credibility behind it, so we'll have to see how it all shakes out.
Absolutely. That was the end of Raw, my friend.
Yeah, it was.